Today, I'm gonna show you how to make a 30-minute chili that tastes like it was lovingly and laboriously simmered on the stove all day. I get there through a more intelligently designed cooking process and, more importantly, what I'll call flavor accelerating ingredients. To get started, I'll need 2.5 pounds or 1,200 grams of 80/20 ground beef. This is standard issue ground chuck to be more specific, and I like it for chili because it's got a lot of beef flavor and it's widely available. To cook it, I'll flip it out onto a sheet tray and mush it down into a flat sheet. As I've done a lot of times in the past on this channel, I'm gonna skip the browning of this beef on the stovetop and instead broil it in the oven. This method is about 2 times faster than stovetop browning, and it gives me way more browning, meaning more flavor, and it's way less of a mess. This way I don't have to worry about splattery beef getting all over my stovetop. Now, the next step is to throw this meat sheet under the broiler and oven sear it for 8 to 10 minutes. No need to preheat the box either. Once the beef is in, I'll just turn my broiler to high. And by the way, this rack is about 8 inches underneath the broiler. Now, while that cooks, I've got some downtime, so I'll use that to cut my aromatics and prep up my tomato product. For the aromatics, I'll cut down 1 large white onion. And when I say cut, I really mean dice it as small as you possibly can. Behind the onion, I'll smash 5 to 6 cloves through my garlic press, and in total, I'm looking for 20 grams here. Next, let's talk tomato product. To get the perfect chili-friendly mix of tomato texture and flavor in as little time as possible, I'm using 4 different products. First, I've got tomato paste here because it brings a ton of concentrated tomato flavor, obviously. Then 2 cans of diced tomatoes that I've drained the liquid out of because the juice in those cans is usually watery and overly acidic. To replace that moisture, I'll use 1 425 gram can of tomato sauce. And then lastly, and most importantly, I've got 1 28-ounce can of fire roasted tomatoes. They're a touch smoky, they're very concentrated, and they've got robust tomato flavor. Now, to further enhance this deep roasty / smoky flavor, I'm gonna add in 2 smoked chipotle peppers in adobo sauce and then drop in my immersion blender and spin those to combine. This chipotle is another major flavor accelerator. It makes this chili taste like it's been slowly bubbling away on a barbecue smoker all day, and it's amazing. And once I've got my tomatoes drained and the fire roasted stuff is pureed together, I'm gonna check back on my broiling beef. At this point, it's been 10 minutes and the sheet of meat has started to brown on top and it's just about cooked through. So I'll pull out the sheet tray and let it cool down while I start cooking this soup. To do that, I'll grab a large heavy bottom pot and drop it on the stove over medium heat. By the way, this recipe makes 6 quarts of chili, so make sure that your chili pot is pretty big. Now, once my pot is hot, I'll add in a long squiggle of olive oil, then my onion, the garlic, a strong pinch of salt, and then I'll stir to combine. At this point, I want to sweat the onion until it's pretty much all of the way softened. Later on, we're not going to be doing a long simmer, and if we don't soften the onion now, it's going to be crunchy in the final chili. And after about 5 to 6 minutes, these onions are mostly softened and the garlic is smelling fragrant. So now I'll add in 60 grams of chili powder, 30 grams of paprika, 10 grams of ground cumin, and then a few strong pinches of chili flake. Next, I'll stir the spices into the onions and fry for 20 to 30 seconds to toast them off and to open up their flavor. Stay frosty here and cook these over no higher than medium heat because the chili powder especially can burn and get bitter super fast. Next, I'll add in my chipotle tomato puree, the tomato sauce, both cans of diced tomatoes, there we go, and then 50 grams of tomato paste. Next, I'll jump in and stir that up while scraping the bottom of the pot to make sure there isn't any chili powder stuck down there. And once the tomato stuff is in and simmering, I'll add in all of my seasonings. That's 20 grams of hot sauce, 30 grams of brown sugar, 30 grams of wurch, 15 grams of cider vinegar, and then 30 grams of beef bouillon paste. I'm using BTB brand here, of course. This video isn't sponsored by them. I just think that this is an excellent way to up the density of flavor in chili without adding a bunch of extra cook time. If you don't have any bouillon, I would say double the wurch. Lastly, I'll add in about 10 grams of salt, then stir the whole pot to combine and bring this chili up to a low simmer to unify the flavors and hydrate all that chili powder. Speaking of hydration, Element, the sponsor of this video, helps me stay hydrated. Thanks to the health podcast internet, I now know that healthy hydration is about more than just drinking a high volume of water. You need the proper balance of electrolytes in there too. And when you sweat, both water and electrolytes need to be replaced to prevent prevent muscle cramps, headaches, and most importantly for me, energy dips. Element is special because it was created by a former research biochemist to have the optimal electrolyte ratios to help you hydrate the right way without the sugar or other junky ingredients that have nothing to do with the goal of hydration. Did I mention that it also tastes very good, and I genuinely look forward to drinking it after a hard workout or time getting sweaty in the sauna. My current favorite is the citrus salt because it kind of tastes like a margarita, but these new hot chocolate flavors are also surprisingly very tasty. I was skeptical, but it's true. They taste awesome. Just go to drinklmnt.com/Brian Lagerstrom to get a free sample pack with any order. If you don't like it, they'll give you a full refund, no questions asked. This offer is good for new and returning customers. Just be sure to use my link in the description. While that cooks, I'll move back over to my meat sheet and crumble it down. The particle size you want here is quite small because this chili isn't going to be cooking for many hours to further break down the connective tissue. Big chunks can have a little bit of a gristly, tough texture, so avoid them. And once I've got this beef crumbled down and mixed up with the roasting juices, I'll move the sheet tray over to my cooking chili and scrape in the meat. I like to do that with a dough scraper to get as much of the beef fat off the tray as possible because that is particularly hard to wash off in the sink. Next, I'll give that beef a quick stir to mix it in with the tomato base. Then I'll add in 4 cans of firm, creamy kidney beans. And if you're thinking, hey Bri, what brand of beans should I use for optimal texture and flavor? Well, to answer that question, I'll need to do a good old-fashioned bean tasting. I decided to buy 5 of the biggest bean brands and taste them blindly to figure out which one is best for chili. The first bean is the standard issue Whole Foods 365 brand. Decent creaminess, flavor, mid. It's not like particularly flavorful. Yeah, the outside's kind of firm. I like it. I suspect this bean will hold up well in a chili. Next up is the bean conglomerate, Bush's Best. Even firmer skin, a little bit of sweet flavor, better tasting overall. Yeah, that's a good bean. Firm skin, creamy interior, good texture. Next is the expensive Eden Organics brand. No. This bean is mealy. Very little bean flavor too.
Forget that bean.
Yuck. Next is S&W. That's a mass market brand similar to Bush's. No. It's like wet. And now like the bean skin is kind of getting stuck in my teeth.
Yuck.
No, get this bean out of here. Finally, I'm going to taste Dakota's Best. I got this one at Aldi. Almost too firm. Like kind of calcium chloride-y. This is my 3rd favorite bean. Bean 2 is the winner.
Oh, wow. It's...
Oh, yeah,
typical.
baby. Not sponsored. It's well formed, it's creamy. The skin isn't too in your face, and it's seasoned.
Bush's for the winner. And just in case people want to know, your number 2 was the 365 brand.
Nice, good flavor. I mean, just less salt overall, and the skin was a little bit tougher. I guess between these 2 beans, you have a very distinct choice. This one has preservatives in it and a bunch of stuff, and this one is just beans, water, and salt. So if you're kind of an ingredient minimalist and you're worried about preservatives, this is a great option. This is overall the best chili bean if you're just trying to make dope chili. Back at the stove, I'll stir in all 4 cans of my drained Bush's Best kidney beans and then simmer this chili for 10 minutes, no less. You really can't get away with no simmering because the flavors need a chance to mingle. If you just dumped stuff in, stirred it together, and served it, it would very much taste like tomato sauce sitting on ground beef. As in not good. And after 10 minutes, this chili is looking a little bit thick, so I'll adjust it with a little bit of water to thin it out and then simmer it for another 2 minutes or so. And after 30 to 35 minutes, we've got a whole bunch of nice looking chili that I'm sure tastes good, but it's not finished. We can make this great by tasting it and adjusting. So like I've said many times in previous videos, when it comes to finishing something like stew, chili, or soup, tasting it for seasoning at the very end is a very, very important step. Right now, first thing I'm tasting for salt level, and I think this needs just a little bit more sparkle to reach its full chili potential. All of the amounts in the recipe will get you about 95% of the way there. I wanted to leave it a little bit open-ended because I don't know how much you're gonna reduce your chili, how sweet your tomatoes are, and everything like that. Now, once I've got the salt level dialed, the next thing is the acid-sweet balance. Things that are more sweet generally need more acid to compensate and vice versa. So I've got some vinegar and some brown sugar in here right now. And after I've got the salt level tweaked, I'm gonna taste for sweet acid. Acid is good. maybe even a little high because of the tomatoes and the apple cider vinegar. So I've got just a little bit more brown sugar here to bring that into balance. I don't want it to taste sweet. I just want it to push against the intensity of that acid. And then the last thing for chili is heat. I've kept this pretty mild in the grammed out recipe, but for my taste, I like it a little bit spicier. So I'm gonna add a couple of ziggies of that. This is Frank's, by the way. And we'll give that all one more final stir and a taste. Yo, that is super good. Way more balanced than when I started, and it tastes just more like chili, which is what you want. Now to serve this chili, I'll ladle a lot of it into a shallow bowl, then top with a big dog dollop of sour cream. Then I'll add on some small diced white onion for aromatic heat, then some medium sharp shredded cheddar.
That's so much cheese.
That's how much I put on. Finally, no chili is complete without a handful of crushed oyster crackers. This is gonna soak up the chili's moisture and combine with the cheese to make chili spackle, basically. You guys, this is a great tasting chili that also happens to only take 30 to 35 minutes to make. It has great beefiness, creamy beans, and layer upon layer of dark, intense flavor. Of course, you could let this thing simmer for another hour or two and you'd get a little bit more flavor, or better yet, you could make it ahead and reheat it for your next sports party. If you guys end up making this, let me know in the comments how it went. And if you're thinking about commenting about how chili without beans is not chili, first of all, suck my butt. And second of all, if you want a delicious recipe for beanless chili, then please check out this video for Texas style beef chili. It's all meat, not a bean in sight. I'll see you there. Mmm.